anything about watercolor, you know that white paint for watercolor is virtually useless. If you do want your colors to be lighter or darker, you just add less water for darker and more water for lighter. But if you want light to show through, then usually you buy masking fluid at the store. Unfortunately, masking fluid is actually pretty expensive, so I usually stick to these other ways as of right now to get the white to show through, and that is using colored pencil and a white crayon. And if you go over them in paint, you should be able to see through. So as you can see, the white colored pencil didn't work as well, and I usually use it more for outlining. And say I wanted the snowman to stay white, but I messed up a little and got some inside the snowman. What you have to do is, you only take a little water, you wipe it on there, like so, and then you take a Q-tip, and you just rub it off. And it's almost as good as new. But you know, if this goes too far and you can't wipe it off, then you can just probably use acrylic paint to keep it white. Another thing that you can do to keep white space is dab a tissue on it. I use this to create clouds in my paintings. More. Some more. Voila, clouds. That's actually how I created the cloud texture in this type of painting. Also, if you don't have a palette, just use a paper plate. It's a lot easier to clean, and it's cost effective. When cleaning your paintbrushes, you want to make sure that they're thoroughly clean, because leaving paint in them can really damage them. And also make sure that they're nice and dry, because if you leave water in your paintbrushes, then they're going to dry out, and then the bristles are going to fall out. Then make sure to store your paintbrushes bristle side up, because you don't want them smashed and getting all bent. I keep my paintbrushes in an old mug that I don't use anymore, so when I take the paintbrushes out, I can just use the old mug for water. The good thing about watercolors is that technically you could just leave it like this and then come back to it a day later and you can still paint with the same paints on there. But if you're using acrylic, it's going to dry fast, so if you want to use the same color of paint later, my tip is to put saran wrap over your palette. Another thing you can do is drop a little bit of water in there before, but technically just the saran wrap would work just fine. This isn't really a tip, but it's more of advice. You don't have to buy expensive things to be a real artist or good or whatever. I actually used Crayolas for the longest time because, to be honest, it's the exact same thing, except for with actual tubes like these, you can get more colors out of them. And the final tip is to have fun. It's the cheesiest thing ever, but really, I mean, it's probably the most effective tip because everyone should have fun when they're painting. You shouldn't paint what others want you to paint, you should paint what you want to paint. Comment below if you found them to be helpful. So I hope you like these tips and I hope that they were really helpful. And maybe I'll do some more, probably on drawing or other art.